Hi, I'm Lizzie and this is Laura. Today is day 6 of our cruise on board Costa Diadema in November 2023. Today we are visiting the port of Palma de Mallorca, but does adverse weather affect our plans again?
We're on board Costa Diadema for 7 nights. So if you're interested in finding out what we get up to on this cruise and our other cruises, make sure you subscribe to our channel.
After grabbing some pastries for breakfast, we headed out for the day. We walked out of the port because to get the shuttle bus, it was €15 each. When we walked a certain amount of distance, we decided, actually, it looks quite far to continue walking. So we jumped into a taxi. We were with Tom and Dom, so it was an absolute bargain, and the taxi only cost us €6 for the 4 of us. So you can tell that this is considerably cheaper than what it would have cost us all to jump on the shuttle bus.
We jumped in that taxi as far as the cathedral area, spent a bit of time having a look around there. It was beautifully sunny and really warm, but it was very windy. So we did have to deal with getting a bit windswept out there, which made it very difficult for us to take photos.
After exploring around the cathedral area, we then had a walk through some of the winding streets in Palma, stopped at a few shops, bought our obligatory fridge magnet because we've never actually been to Palma before, and just had a general look around the shopping area.
We then came into a really nice square where there was a musician playing and there were a few different bars and restaurants grouped together, and we decided to stop for a little bit of lunch. We weren't actually sure at first whether we were just going to have drinks or whether we were going to eat, but we saw the menu and thought it looked interesting, and we essentially had some tapas, but they weren't quite traditional tapas.
We ordered some nachos, which were totally a 10 out of 10. We had some hummus with some bread, and we had an empanada just because we fancied trying it to see what it was like. All of the food was delicious, and it was really pleasant sitting in the square. It was quite sunny there and the wind wasn't in force there.
We continued having a bit of an explore around those areas, going down some of those interesting streets before heading back around to the cathedral area where we jumped in a taxi down to the port area again. This time the taxi took us basically as far in as it could, so dropped us right at the terminal building, and it was a little bit more expensive. It was around €10 for this journey, but again we shared that between 4 of us, so it was still much cheaper than that shuttle bus would have cost.
The walk from the entrance to the port to the ship is quite a long walk, and we noticed that it was a lot busier than when we'd left the ship. By the time we got down to the ship, there was quite a big queue to get back on, and it wasn't helped by the fact that shuttle buses and coaches were pulling up alongside and people were just joining onto the side of the queue rather than going to the back. So then it became a bit of a every man for themselves type of situation.
Yeah, it wasn't the kind of queuing that we used to, was it? As we got back on, we just popped into the atrium for a cold drink, and we only sat there for a really brief time because we were sort of needing to get back to the room to start getting ready for the evening.
We then headed down to dinner. All of the tables were occupied as always in dinner. However, we had just sailed away, and because of the adverse weather warning with strong winds, we started to feel the effects of it in the dining room. The dining room for us is at the aft of the ship, so you obviously do feel a bit more of the motion. The waiters were finding it quite difficult at times to pour wine, etc. And some people didn't manage to stay out the duration of their dinner because they found it uncomfortable. Some people took their dinner out of the dining room with them.
Yeah, there were a few big crashes as well of things falling off stations and things like that while we were sat eating. So it did get a little bit rocky in there, a bit rockier than we used to, I suppose. But we managed to stay the course and finish our meal.
So for dinner, I had a meatball pasta for a starter, and it was absolutely delicious. Then I had empanadas again because I wanted to sort of see how different it was from what I'd eaten at lunch. I can confirm lunch was much better. And to be honest, after eating the meatballs and pasta, I was quite full anyway. I wasn't really very hungry for the main.
And then for me, I was a little bit disappointed actually. So for my starter, I'd ordered a gnocchi off the menu. And when the starter came out, the waiter explained that the menu that had been printed was incorrect, and that wasn't actually on the menu. So he bought me the alternative item, which was like a pinwheel of pasta with ricotta inside it, and I don't actually like ricotta, so I didn't enjoy that at all. But for my main, I didn't really fancy anything on the menu today, And I asked if I could have something off the children's menu, and they were more than obliging, so I had essentially chicken nuggets and chips. We skipped dessert today too because there just wasn't anything on there that I fancied, and as you know, Lizzie doesn't like them anyway.
We presumed that none of the outside bars would be open because of the weather, so we decided to head towards the atrium area, and there was some nice easy listening music playing when we went in there. There was a man playing his guitar and singing some very well-known songs, and we just sat in there and had a very enjoyable drink for a little while.
The show in the theatre tonight was Ledtron Dance, which was performed by the Illuminati dance crew who won India's Got Talent. They were really, really talented. The cast as well on board, the dancers from the onboard cast did also get involved and perform a number at the beginning, and it was actually a really interesting show.
So basically the stage was in total darkness and they had LED lighting on their clothes, and it was really cleverly done. Even though you could still feel movement on the ship, it had calmed down compared to what it was earlier. However, it still seemed quieter around the ship tonight than it has done on previous nights.
Then we headed to the All of Grand Bar, where there was some dancing taking place with, again, like the onboard band was singing and the entertainments team were in there getting people involved in the dancing. I did get dragged up at one point to join in with a dance, which I failed spectacularly at and sat back down quite quickly.
What has amazed us most about the live music on board is that as soon as one person finishes, the next person starts. So there was a band playing, and they're very talented, the band that was playing in there, and then as soon as they finished, a keyboard player and singer started straight away. The band were packing up while the keyboard player and the singer were singing. There just wasn't a pause for breath whatsoever.
It was Latin night tonight around the ship, which meant that the dress code was red and black. Unfortunately, we didn't know about the dress codes before we got on board. There was nothing to say what they were going to be, so we've failed spectacularly at this and haven't got any of the correct clothes. We did have something for white night, and obviously we did have a more formal outfit for that evening, but we haven't got anything else.
Because it was Latin night, we knew that the party was moving upstairs to the Teodora Lounge, so we headed up there a little bit before the time because we wanted to make sure we got a seat.
And when we got into Teodora, it was already quite busy. We did get a seat and we sat down and waited for the big party to start. And again, it was just really good fun. The entertainments team were in there once again, getting everybody up and involved. We got up on the dance floor and joined in, followed some of their routines, and everybody was just having a great time in there. The atmosphere was sort of contagious, really. And how the entertainments team keep going when they're dancing solidly like that for that amount of time, I'll never know.
One thing that we found quite strange tonight was we were the last people in the bar. So we found that actually we can't keep up with everybody on this ship because they just never seem to go to bed. However, tonight it got to about 1:45 and we were the last 4 people in there along with the entertainment team. The entertainment team were still dancing and still putting on a show, and it was just us 4 there enjoying it and appreciating it.
We headed to bed at about 1 a.m. It was probably a little bit later than we'd initially planned because we had an early start planned for the morning in Valencia.
Overall, yet another good day. The entertainment on board never ceases to amaze us. It's as lively as you want it to be. There are bars where you can sit in where it's not quite as lively, but if you want a lively ship, then this is the ship for you. Despite the weather being really windy, it hasn't ruined our day, and we really enjoyed our first visit to Palma de Mallorca.
Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on social media. We're Sisters on the Seas.